Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome to At the Inn of the Deadly Sins. I'm Matt here, as always, with Mike and Sebastian. And tonight we are going to talk about the David Fincher Classic 7 with Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Kevin Spacey. But before that, guys, what's going on? How's it going? What you been up to?
Well, I am watching the Dota 2 TI tournament, which started on Thursday. It's the arguably the greatest esports tournament currently in existence, and it's actually set in Seattle this year, so right close to home. I
Why aren't you
always think
there, buddy?
because the
You were going to
ticket,
go down to that at one point, were you not?
yeah. Do you know how much tickets are for the grand final?
Um, I we've
Too
had this
much.
conversation. I don't remember if it was
I think it was four
on air
digits.
or not. But
700 US plus
Yeah,
taxes. I'm
fucking
like, yeah, I
brutal.
ain't gonna go to that.
No, to watch people play video games.
It's a spectacle though.
Uh,
It's intense because
I'm
I've
sure it
seen some
is.
grand finals and
Yeah,
yeah, it's something. Although the prize pool is minuscule compared to what it used to be. So like a couple years ago, their prize pool was like 41 million for the event. So the winning team would get like 15, 16 million.
Jesus
Jesus.
Christ.
And these are like, keep in mind, these are 17, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids that are
Hmm.
competing for this. So,
Wow.
um, but yeah, so it's one of the biggest tournaments. So I've been trying to kind of stay up to date with what's going on, and Dota 2 is a game that I probably play more than any other game currently,
Hmm.
since I quit WoW back in
Now,
January.
What do
So
you? What is
Dota
Dota 2?
Dota 2 has been around for a really long
yes,
time, right? Like we're talking a decade. I remember I worked
okay,
with a couple of guys, one of whom was the smelliest human being I've ever encountered in my life. Um, Pound
okay,
Sand Jason, if you happen to be listening to this, and I doubt you are because you're probably playing Dota 2. And so I learned a lot. It reminded me back when you guys were playing that text-based multi-user dungeon, and like six of
no,
you
it's
sit,
way
wait,
it's different
wait,
than that.
listen,
Yeah,
listen. It reminded me a lot of that because I would sit and I would have to listen to, the one guy I liked and the smelly idiot talk about this for 6 to 8 hours every damn day
Good God.
until the
yeah.
guy I like got pissy enough to tell him to shut up and go away. And that's why it reminds me of the mud, because there was like six of you that played, so I would end up stuck in a conversation.
That
And
you had
there's
no
six
idea
of you
what's going
batting
on.
it all around. I knew more about these two games, and I've forgotten a lot of it
Yeah.
now, than anybody on the face of the earth. Um, and I never touched it. I couldn't find it if I wanted to. And I don't. But yeah, that's that. So Dota's been around for quite a while.
Well, the first
I'm
version of it was from Warcraft 3. So, are you guys
okay.
familiar what a MOBA is? Have you ever heard of what the term MOBA? It's okay.
I've
So
heard the term. I don't know what it is.
MOBA means multi online or multiplayer online battle arena. So basically, in Dota, you put five heroes against five heroes and you throw them down on a map, and there's a bunch of AI controlled units, which are like your warriors that are rushing from one end to the other, and they battle in the middle of a trench. Think of like World War I in the French, the French line, basically. So you have two warring armies that are coming at each other, and you play a hero that you decide to choose, which has different skill sets, and you kind of um, try to pair your skill sets with your companions to build synergistic maneuvers to thwart the other team, right? And you battle each other and try to destroy their ancients. And the average game lasts between like 30 minutes to like 60 minutes, depending on how close they are. But it is a very high, and I mean incredibly high skill level game. Like I have been playing this game for a lot of years, and I'm in the third lowest tier out of like 9 tiers of player
Oh,
ranked ranking.
so you're gonna get relegated.
I suck compared to these pro players, right?
Wow, dude.
So,
Um,
but
okay, so it's
yeah,
that just reminds me of you being on such a low tier. I started watching Welcome to Wrexham with my wife, so now I understand the
no,
English soccer system. I'm like, this is amazing. We should move this
I
over
have to
into
watch
all
that still.
professional.
I haven't seen it yet. I heard it's amazing though.
Yeah,
The
really,
Wrexham,
really
yeah.
good. But the way they explain the English tiered football, like I think that should be brought into all professional sports.
I
Like
100%
the
agree.
Maple Leafs will be
Yeah.
playing down at the Langley Twin Ranks by the end of next week. I mean,
I
that's
mean, it will
fantastic.
never happen in anything outside of like European soccer, basically.
No.
But I mean, imagine, you know, the relegation promotion system in all sports, it would be crazy. But you can't sustain that with the type of bankrolls that teams have, right? Like
No.
it's, I don't know. You have to get away with drafting because drafting is basically, like they don't draft in soccer. There's no such thing as a draft. So you find players on your own and you buy the players to come over on your team.
Yeah.
So, you know, in
Right.
the MLS there's drafting, but not in like any other Premier League. So you have to find these kids from an early age and sign them to contracts and stuff. And
Well, like
Yeah.
Mbappe, right? They recognized him early and they nurtured
Yeah.
him, and right. And
well, the
Ooh.
story of Mbappe is that he was supposed to play for the Cameroon, but
Yeah.
there was so much political money involved in raising kids in sports in Cameroon,
Mhm.
where the father had to pay to put his son in all these elite level soccer things, whereas the French just said, "Well, just take him for free."
Yeah.
So,
Right.
as a father that's broke and you have a prodigy player, where are you going to go?
Yep.
Right? Why would you stay loyal to a corrupt government that's forcing you to pay
you-
for your son to just play the game that he's so good at that other countries will just say, "Well, just come and play for us for free."
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So,
All right, fair enough. All right, now
Yeah.
one of you has a heart out for like 8 o'clock. Yeah,
no, I'm fine. Yeah,
you're fine. You're good?
I'm just super exhausted because of my workload, but we won't need
Oh.
we don't need to deal with that. So
You can talk to us for a
Yeah.
few extra minutes.
I feel
Yeah,
really
you-
good.
we're gonna
I feel
get you
really
all
good coming
wound
into
up.
this now. So
Mike and I
I'm
have
good.
some really good points that we've come up that might be true and might not, just to piss you off and get your blood boiling.
Oh
Oh,
god.
fantastic.
I have no part in this making Seb mad. I'm just going to put that out there. I'm not participating in this.
No, Mike is not
Ah.
participating intentionally, and I'm just
No, I will do it.
busting
I will
balls.
do it completely just for the love of our friendship.
I
Yeah.
deserve it from the times I twist Matt's screw about wrestling all the time.
You know what? That's fine. The thing is, you know an awful lot about it for somebody that turns my crank. That
know.
sounded weird.
Whoa,
Anyways,
all
let's
right
just let's just drop the
Jeez.
weirdness now.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be getting into David Fincher films over the course of the year. It's something we've decided on. The way we're going to do this is we're just going to pick one, watch it, break it down. We decided to start with Seven because Seven is awesome. I saw
Yes.
this in the theaters. I believe there's a big group of us. Were you boys part of that group?
I don't
I don't-
remember.
I
I
don't
saw it in
remember.
the theater, but I don't remember
Yeah.
who was with me. That
Okay. So I'm going to say
1995 was
yeah.
a couple of years ago. I could probably label off a few
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
that would have been there with me, depending on the time of year it was. But
Well, it
Big
would have been
group. Yeah.
September. This came out September 22nd, 1995. So high low on my notes here. High low on the IMDb rating, guys. What do you think?
It's got to
Yep.
be pretty high.
I think it's kind of
it's-
mid. I think it's more mid.
It's got to
Okay,
be pretty
so
high.
pick a number. It's two
at
decimal,
a-
1 decimal place out of 10.
It's out of 10, right?
Out of 10 to 1 decimal place.
I'm gonna say 8.8.
I say it's a 5.
Oh, Seb was really close. It's 8.6 on IMDb.
Okay.
Same deal. Rotten Tomatoes. What do you think,
Oh,
percentage wise?
It's frustrating.
88%.
188.
I'll take 72.
I think it's higher on Rotten.
83.
83. Okay.
3%. So that's
Okay.
pretty good. They made this for $33 million.
Most of that probably going to Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
I don't think so. He wasn't that
because
big of
this
a
is
name back
very
then.
young cast. This is a
Yeah.
very young cast. These are
Yeah.
really early in everybody's careers, except for Morgan Freeman. And actually, I was kind of surprised about the length of Brad Pitt's career. We'll get to that in a couple
Yeah.
more statements here.
That was kind of when he
worldwide
was first coming in as a 95.
Nope.
No, he had some
Nope.
biggies up before that.
So he had.
Yeah, I guess he did. Yeah,
I
he
was-
did.
Stunned. I was absolutely stunned
Stunned.
when I looked back at Brad Pitt's earlier work as how much there was. He really paid his dues before he got
Mhm.
set off on Thelma and
was-
Louise when he
a
pulled
lot of
his
TV,
abs
a
out.
lot of TV
Was
stuff.
interview was before 7, wasn't it?
Okay.
Interview
hold
with the
on.
Vampire.
Oh, I have all of this. So it grossed 327 million. So it made
sounds about
almost
right.
10 times its money back, and
No big
for
deal.
good reason. So for Brad, this fell between Legends of the Fall and 12 Monkeys, which
Okay.
Legends of the Fall came right after Interview with the Vampire. Morgan Freeman, it fell between Outbreak and Moll Flanders. And right before that, he did Shawshank, which
Yeah.
really made him a household name. For Kevin Spacey, who had really done nothing of note, it also in Outbreak and right before A Time to Kill. But before Outbreak, he was in Usual Suspects. And as Mike pointed out, there's something about the way John Doe walks in this later in the movie that really screams verbal kid. And then
when he shackled walking through the cop shop, he's walking just like Verbal did when he's got his legs shackled. That same sort of
stutter step,
half
drag
paralyzed
foot.
kind of walk. Yeah, it's exactly the same.
Yep. And then for Miss Paltrow, who was not even close to the radar yet, her biggest thing before this was playing the young girl in Hook, the young Wendy in the flashback.
Really?
She was, yep.
Oh, wow.
I noticed that when I watched Hook a few months ago, but before this, she was in Jefferson in Paris, and then Moonlight and Valentino right after this. So she hadn't even really come close to hitting yet.
Wasn't she Brad Pitt's girlfriend at the time?
Yes.
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know if they met on the set of that or if they started dating before that.
I don't know. Seb, you're the relationship guy, so it's not really Matt and I's forte to talk about.
I got my Swift jersey here somewhere. I don't know.
Oh,
it came in the mail this morning. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I'm sure kidding. It did. Sure, you got your Kansas City '87 T Swift on the back there.
Oh, quick question: did the Eagles win today?
No.
So both the Eagles and the Niners are done.
Yeah, Niners.
So there's no perfect teams anymore.
Niners are in deep shit. They lost McCaffrey and Samuel.
Ooh.
Yeah, and they lost to the Browns playing a third-string quarterback.
Good defense, man.
Well, yeah, they do. Anyway, sorry to derail the conversation.
My buddy Alex in Philly on that one. Sorry for your loss, bud. Okay, guys. So, what are your first impressions of this?
When I first saw it, or what I think about it now, or just in general?
Go. Pick one.
Okay. So someone who has studied screenwriting many times and storytelling, I can tell you that the story that Andrew Kevin Walker, which is the writer of Seven, has created is one of the greatest woven stories that ever for a thriller. How everything is connected to each other is just on another level brilliant. And for those of you who have never seen it, spoiler warning, we're giving away the ending in this podcast. So
what's in the box?
Oh yeah, we will be.
So maybe go watch it before you watch the podcast, and then you'll know what we're talking about. But yeah, it's just how it weaves. And if you I studied the script, I read the script as I was watching the movie, and I was studying the nuances and how Brad Pitt's character slowly starts to slip into his sin because he becomes more angry and more angry. He can't fucking catch John Doe, and he's becoming more angry, and John Doe is literally playing specifically for Mills for the payoff at the end. Everything that he designs for the movie is for Detective Mills and for that payoff at the very end of the movie. So
hold on here. Hold on. I got it. Here's a question for you. It is definitely designed to get one of the cops. Right? The sixth sin ends up being, and we'll go through how they all work out, but the sixth sin, the consequence of that is suicide by cop. I don't think that can be argued. The sixth sin.
That's envy.
Wrath was the last one, right?
Wrath is the last one.
Envy is the sixth one.
No, envy is John Doe's sin.
That's right. That's the sixth sin.
Yeah. Yes.
The sixth one.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you think it was designed specifically for that cop, or was it one of the cops it was designed for? Because Mills is new on the beat.
I think it was more
the very first day on the job.
Personally,
Yep. Go ahead.
Because he was the cop outs. Well, he'd been there longer. How would, if he set all this up for Mills, right? And Mills just showed up on Sunday, whatever day.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
And the dude they had in the bed for a year, or even the gluttony guy. How do you tie that to Mills when he's been overfeeding a guy for days or weeks, or killing the guy slowly in the bed for a year?
Yeah.
I think that within the first sin he targeted Detective Mills for the last part.
Oh, probably.
I do. Just because of a alternate ending that I read about, which would derail the whole plan of how it went, and so we can talk about that
Like,
later.
do you?
I'd be curious to hear this because
Yeah.
Mills, the very first scene we see Mills in, it's the murder that I don't want to say means nothing, but it's really just setting everything up. He comes bounding up the stairs, and it's like, I'm the new guy. It's my first day on the job. I just transferred in, and Freeman is just like, well, he's almost got a Danny Glover lethal weapon. It's like, I don't need this shit today.
It's Danny Glover times 10 because he's
Well,
he is completely
he's
done.
literally 7 days away from retiring as
Yeah.
a homicide detective, right? And in the I mean, Fincher does an absolutely incredible job of translating the script to the movie. It's almost flawless. But I think where a lot of the nuance of the script is missed is on a lot of the subtle clues in Somerset's home and when he's sleeping and the metronome and all that kind of stuff where he's trying to find balance and he realizes that he can't find balance in this world that he has decided that he wants to work in. Like there is no such thing as peace and balance, right? And so I don't know if I can't remember if they do it in the movie or if they do it in the script, but at some point, in the script he uses the metronome to fall asleep all the time. It's like he has to put the metronome on. Does he throw it against the wall and break it in the movie?
He throws it on the floor.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because he can't. Because at that point his character is crossing over to like I can't get out of this.
Do
world.
you
Like
okay? Now hold on. Let me just ask you this question, Seb. When did you see it last?
like a month and a half ago, I think.
Okay, Mike and I just watched it today.
Yeah.
So, so do you remember what he does after he smashes the metronome?
Does he throw the knife against the?
He gets up
Yes.
on the bed.
Yeah,
he starts throwing the knife on the dartboard.
against the dartboard. Yeah.
And you see him do that, and and I made a note about this. It's his breaking point. He's fed up. He's frustrated. This is the way it's very against what we've already seen. He's very calm. He's very measured throughout the whole thing, including trying to get Brad Pitt to not walk into John Doe's apartment.
Like the look on his face when he's throwing that knife is there's I think he realized he can never not be a cop.
Yeah.
Like he realized I can never retire. Like this is my life. I cannot live without this stuff. Right. That's like the whole like him going to the library and helping Mills before he decides, hey, I'm really in helping you. It's just like here's your package of stuff. This is what we need to look for. And
or even on a deeper level, if I walk away from this, everything crumbles around me and all the like people, not to sound, if I was Somerset, not to feel egotistical, but it's almost like I'm destined to do this because I have the balance in my psyche that I can handle this. Whereas like I see Detective Mills just crumbling, his psyche is just crumbling, and he goes, imagine anyone else in this situation. Nobody has the mental strength like I do to deal with this kind of disgusting, sick, twisted people, right? So it's like almost like I can't get away from this because nobody else can do this.
See, I saw it a different way. Sorry, Mike, you go ahead.
No, go ahead. It's cool,
man. It was more of a Godfather thing. Just when I'm getting out, they pull me back in. I think that's more part of his frustration.
Yeah,
rather
absolutely.
than just like, I got to finish this off. And I think you see that as he's building towards it. He starts doing research. He's like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. Here's some notes.
Yeah, maybe he really likes doing that, right? Maybe
it could be. Yeah, Mike, go ahead with your point.
Even at one point he said, I didn't use the word envy, but he was envious of Brad Pitt and his enthusiasm for the job, and which he could think like he could still, but he's too jaded. He's seen too much shit to really not care. That's the wrong word, but to really. He even told him, you got to divorce yourself from all emotion, and he can't even do that. As measured and as structured as he is so heavily invested in not just the 7 murders, but everything else that was on his plate. He can't let go. At all.
Yeah. So, and you see that, and in the same sort of split scene of that, what you see right before, he's throwing the knife and breaking the metronome is Mills is having a very different reaction to the frustration of the whole thing. He was angry. He was a firebrand. He's been kicking down doors. He wants this guy real bad. He's just off the rails. He wants this case solved. He wants this serial killer real bad. and he just crawls into bed and holds his wife
and tells her he loves her so much.
Yeah.
Right. That's his world. That's his balance point. That's his metronome, really, right? Is her. And that's what sort of makes the end that, because when I watched it today, like I hadn't seen it since I've seen it in the theater. So we're going back, quick math, 28 years. So
it's such a good movie.
So I was by myself in a dark room watching the show, and I was like, the buildup of tension from when he walks into the precinct and yells "detective" until they get in that car.
Detective!
Yeah, it's so good. And I thought, because Kevin Spacey he's not the greatest person in the world, to say the least. He's a bit of a fuckface.
Well, apparently he was acquitted of all charges recently. But
whatever.
Whatever.
Bullshit.
Let's not go down that road. But I did have to explain.
Don't defend him. He's not worth defending.
Yeah.
But I thought that all that accusations and stuff were going to sort of jade my view of him. But it sort of added to the creep factor. Like, he played a really good creep because he is a creep. So he was not hamming it up, but he was probably playing himself.
Can you watch American Beauty with this
he was lusting after a teenage girl, for crying out loud. It's all here. It's all there.
So he wasn't acting then.
No, same as
allegedly. We got to throw in a bunch of allegedly. We can't afford to get sued.
He's not going to sue us. It's fine.
But no, you're right. There's that juxtaposition, and Spacey playing the creepy dude is a hell of a deal.
Interesting tidbit of information here that he specifically asked to have his name off the opening credits so it wouldn't ruin the surprise of who John Doe actually was. So
and they did a good.
Yeah,
keep going. Sorry,
because you have no idea that Kevin Spacey's in the movie, because it wasn't on there wasn't IMDb in '95. There wasn't like really internet to search who was like signed on for a movie like it is today. Yeah. It was easier to keep secrets when you were filming something, and I mean, Kevin Spacey was known at the time. He wasn't at the height of his acting career, but he was definitely a big name actor at the time. And when you see him on screen, you're like, holy shit, it's Kevin Spacey. Right? So,
and they did a really good job hiding him in the only scene he is actually in before the reveal in the police station.
Well, he was in two scenes.
Chase. That was a really cool chase.
Because he was the photographer in one chase, but he only took a couple pictures, and then there was like the chase scene afterwards.
Because I didn't remember that. So
it's the photographer that I'm speaking of is because they
framed it very well.
They framed it very well. He turns to the camera, and as he turns to the camera, he brings his arm up and hides it. Really well done. Really well done. I keep cutting you off, Mike, and at some point you're going to have to punch me in the head for it. So I'll try to do better.
Whatever, it's fine. You can cut me off. It's all good. I forgot what I was going to say anyway, so it really doesn't matter.
So, I mean, jumping to the middle for one quick second, it has one of the best jump scares of any movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Because everybody on the planet that saw it for the first time is like, there's no fucking way this guy's alive. It's like a literal corpse. And then I think the guy's like over top of him and he like coughs in his face.
He leans into him and he goes, "You got what you deserve, motherfucker." And that's when
right.
He does not quite sit up because he's lashed to the bed, but he's just like, he's like, fuck. Yeah. I watched this afternoon with my 15-year-old daughter. She had never seen it, but over at her dad's house, one of the very common phrases is she's asked me what's it about. I'm like, and I gave her the cast and I told her it's about a serial killer. I'm like, have you ever heard what's in the box? She's like, we say that all the time at Dad's house. This is where it came from. And she went from, I'm going to go downstairs and draw, to nope, I need to see where this came from. And of course she has to wait almost 2 hours to get to that scene, but she enjoyed it. I'm hoping she's going to jump in on the comments for this as we go. But yeah, that I didn't watch the screen for that one. I was side-eyeing the shit out of her just so I could see if she freaked out. She didn't quite freak out, but it was a good one.
Did she enjoy the movie?
She did. She really enjoyed it. I'm hoping she's going to pop in the comments here and we can try and get her exact sort of review out of her. I offered her a 30-second sort of video that I could drop in here, but she didn't know.
Correct me if I'm wrong
yeah,
though, but there's the whole movie. It's raining in every scene in the movie, right?
just about.
And then it's all
I
of a
think.
sudden you're in the sunny
Oh,
desert.
except for
It's
the
like,
end.
what the
Except
hell,
for the
man?
end. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, but it's funny. One thing I did notice, I was watching it, and it was obviously it was raining the whole time. It was very dark and gritty for the first like hour,
Mhm.
and then the light it started getting brighter as the movie went on. And I don't know if that's a thing or something, but I just everywhere they went, everything they were doing, it was this. Even the fidelity seemed to have gotten a little bit better, and just sort
Mhm.
of everything was coming clear. I don't know if that was something that was done on purpose or just something. Maybe I was just tired, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah. Fincher's
I
too
woke up.
smart for that. Of course, it would have been on purpose.
Right?
Yeah,
just-
right.
Yeah.
I doubt it was the caffeine kicking in. It was. I'll have to sort of take a look at that and see. It's not
Mhm.
something I noticed. I mean, good eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is
Also-
pissing rain for a good chunk of the movie.
Like
which
serious, like the Batman rain,
yeah.
like nonstop,
Yeah,
like
like-
torrential. Like when they're driving in the car talking, I'm like, okay,
You can't
Where the
see
hell-
out the window.
fucking hurricane outside. You're not
Mhm.
driving
Yeah.
down the street. And I thought this was in New York City because that's what the buildings look like.
Okay.
It looked like
let's get into it. I was going to save this for later, but let's get into it. Let's go, Mike. Where
Okay.
do you think this is from? So you were thinking New York.
Well, it's two different places. Well, obviously one's
Mhm.
California because it's the desert, and then the other one is God, like I was going to say like Detroit, California, or New York or something like that.
Mhm.
But it
Well,
was,
okay.
and people lived in the shittiest houses in this town. Like God,
Yeah, but so that's the thing is you look at a lot of the downtown scenes.
Mhm.
Downtown is key to this. It is old buildings, it is gritty, it is dirty.
Mhm.
And part of that is just Fincher's style, but you're thinking New York, you're thinking Philadelphia, Chicago, you're thinking, Detroit, cities, maybe Jersey.
sure.
It's not.
Okay. Okay. So I have studied about this
Mhm.
many years ago. So I'm going back a few years, but I believe that Andrew Kevin Walker lived in New York City, and a lot of the aura of the city
Right.
he took from living in New York City, the bleak gloominess. But I think the whole concept is that there is no defined city.
I just looked up where it was filmed.
Incorrect.
No, because it's supposed to be any city in
That's
North
what I got
America.
the gist of. It was like
It's
sort of those-
it's that
those
they
comic book
specific
kind of
they
cities.
specifically don't say the city name at all in the movie because
and
it's
you don't-
you're not
Yep,
supposed to know the city. That's not the point. The point is
Correct.
that this could happen in any city. It could happen in Philadelphia, Detroit, New York, LA, Seattle, Vancouver. Like so it's
But it can't.
that's the point
plot,
though.
the killing can. The
Are
way
you
they set the
being
movie, it
technical
can't. They can only be set in
specifically
one
about
city.
the power lines in the last episode or the last scene?
I think that's where he's getting at.
Yeah.
Well, there's
it
no
can't, because
mountains,
you
so-
go out to the desert. Now, in the book, the desert's the thing that fucks the entire ambiguous thing. It fucks it. In the book, in the original story, it could have been anywhere. They could have taken him out to a marsh. So absolutely, New York, New Jersey, Philly, Detroit, right?
Yeah.
This is Los Angeles. The movie is Los Angeles.
Oh, is it
because
down-
Los Angeles. I was in a rainstorm in Los Angeles last year, and that's exactly how it rained. I watched a street turn into a river.
Okay, first
was
of all,
fucking weird.
he wrote the script before the book was made.
Okay, so
So Andrew
The
Kevin
original
Walker,
concept of the story.
yeah, I'm pretty sure because the book was novelized after the movie. I'm pretty sure, according to Google. But I mean, Google can always be wrong. So
Google knows everything.
the two things that throw everybody away from LA are the fact that it's pissing rain, which does happen in LA exactly. And if I hadn't been in it last year, I wouldn't have believed it. But that's exactly how it rains in LA.
I think the rain on
And the other
Carmen
thing that
is-
throws everybody is the raised subway, the L train.
you might be
3
right.
LA
in this,
subway lines are above ground.
Oh, interesting. I didn't even know LA had a subway. So
I mean, you see it in Speed, but everybody forgets that. But I actually looked, and that's why I was talking to my buddies back east. I'm like, hey, because I'm talking to my buddy in Philly, and I'm like, do you guys got an elevated train system there? And I got the details on that, and I'm like, yeah, you don't have a desert though. It can only be LA.
that's why the New York thing got me. I'm like, okay, yeah, you
Yep.
got the elevated train, blah blah subway, blah blah, the
And the
Building
shithole
trades.
apartments,
shit
right? It's like an old city, an old back east city. And there are parts of LA you got to remember go back to, before turn of the century as well. So I mean, LA and San Francisco, they got some old buildings in them as
Yeah,
well.
fair enough.
LA has some less than desirable areas.
Oh, come on.
They may have accidentally taken the wrong corner on and into,
Oops, I'm
and
gonna die.
stayed in a hotel by accident.
Oops.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, it's, to me, it can only be LA. And there's one thing in there that it can't be fixed is they leave one building and you actually see it's what was the name of the building, and it gives the address.
I remember what you're talking about.
Chester Williams building. They're
Mm.
leaving one of the buildings and it says,
Wait, see,
I made
good
him
job.
mad.
You made him so mad he left.
It's not even like he took himself out. He's gone.
He's just gone.
We made
He's
him
going to see what's in
disappear.
the box. But
I thought he was doing that after the show.
it doesn't sound.
Yeah,
sound
and I know he's sitting there. He's probably frustrated that he just lost whatever. I'm going to keep my eye on my phone in case he's lost some power or something.
Sure.
But yeah, to me, it can only be LA.
Yeah, the more I think about it too, it makes total sense. But they do such a good job of throwing that off because it doesn't look like what. I'm just a Canadian guy that's been to LA a few times in my life that hasn't seen much of the city. So you just have this idea of what Los Angeles looks like. And that wasn't it. Right.
It doesn't look like the tourist traps area, right? Like there's certain, sure, Hollywood Boulevard is not necessarily the greatest in some parts. But to get to a few places we were going to, we did go through the downtown core a couple of times. And yeah, I'm just looking at it going, oh, and it didn't really occur to me until, he's back. As soon as I find my cursor, we'll get him in here. Maybe. Should we? Yeah.
I don't know.
My computer just crashed, so I have to reboot my computer.
Blue screen of death. No, we were just saying that they do a good job of disguising LA. Now, that sign coming out of the building could simply be they didn't have permission to change it.
It's not supposed to be LA, though. Like, yes, it was filmed in LA, but it's
any
not,
town.
It's not supposed to be set in LA. It's supposed to be take any town and set it, right?
They're supposed to be ambiguous, but they fucked themselves by putting the last scene in the desert. If they had put it anywhere else, if they had put it that would have matched the outskirts, like I said, of Jersey, or New York or Philly, which are all in the same area, really. Chicago, Detroit, same area, really. You could have put it in a swamp, but everybody be going, oh, it's just Miami.
Yeah, right.
So they do. It's designed to be ambiguous, and it really remains that way up until they're out in the desert.
Yeah.
But you need that for the ending to work because
if you didn't have it in the desert, it would not work.
One of the original settings for the ending was actually supposed to be in like a church to have the biblical echo, but they decided not to do that, obviously, because it was filmed out in the open, which I think is more private, and I think it's more
big time, absolutely.
Yeah. So
because
they've also got that space between Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt, and Morgan knows, oh God, this is exactly it's going bad. And then
for those of you that don't know, and we won't give out the ending yet, but it's as far from a Hollywood ending as you can get.
Oh God, yeah.
And studios were basically pleading with Fincher to change the ending, and he's like, "No, this is the way it has to end."
How could you do it any other way? You can't.
You can't.
The movie would suck. If it was a happy ending, it would be stupid.
Yes.
No, do you want me to tell you the alternate ending, which was almost used?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so in the original ending of 7, John Doe wins because he completes the cycle of the 7 deadly sins.
John Doe wins in this one too.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like in the one that we watched, because Mills shoots John Doe in the head.
Wrath.
So Wrath, because he becomes Wrath, and what Somerset does in an alternate ending is he actually shoots him before Brad Pitt has a chance to shoot him, breaking the cycle. And so the last thing that John Doe sees is like, but my master plan, as Somerset shoots him. So because he's not the detective that's supposed to be Wrath. So that was kind of one of the endings that was talked about.
Well, I like that.
Yeah. So I think they nailed it with how it was ended. I think
Mm-hmm.
making John Doe win in the end and complete a cycle was the right
Yeah,
move. But
absolutely.
it definitely gives you a very somber, melancholy feel to the end of the
Mhm.
movie. Like, wow, it's just a cycle that's going to be repeated, basically. So, but Somerset is the one that ends up breaking the cycle of the murders because he doesn't end up giving, or he
Mm.
prevents Wrath from becoming Wrath because he steps in and does it for him.
Does he though? Because he doesn't prevent Wrath from becoming Wrath. He changes who the Wrath is supposed to be.
Well,
For him to do the ending you're talking about, he would have had to get the gun and handcuff
well,
John Doe
it's
and drag him
also,
back to jail.
but it's also more iconic because Somerset in the script has never shot his gun, and so
Yeah.
the first time he shoots the gun is to kill John Doe
In Wrath.
in Wrath, right?
Out of
Well, but
Wrath.
he's not the one that's in Wrath. He's doing it to not elevate Brad Pitt to the Wrath status because
But he
John Doe
takes it.
has targeted Detective Mills by by the what's in the box
Mhm.
thing. He's targeted him to become the last sin, and Somerset prevents him from becoming the last sin. So
He doesn't prevent. He prevents Mills. He takes over. He is Wrath then. John Doe still wins. For
no,
John Doe not to
because
win,
he's not doing it
No.
out of wrath. He's doing it to
he
break
is
the
doing it
cycle.
out of Wrath.
No, because he's not doing it out of anger. He's not shooting him out of anger. He's shooting him out of logic and to break the
Okay,
cycle.
So I'm gonna back this up to prove my point. The only real friend that Tracy has in LA is Somerset. And the only real friend Somerset is seen having, because he's
He's
a
a loner.
loner.
Yep.
The whole
He's definitely
movie
a loner. Yeah.
is Tracy. It's not the Wrath John Doe wanted, but that's 100% Wrath.
And he knew,
especially
and he was
because
the only
he's
one that knew she was
only
pregnant
one-
too, right?
Yes, exactly. He's the only one other than Tracy
So
that knew she was pregnant. So for
Done it to
Wrath
her
to be
in the same thing, basically.
yeah.
What
more
a
or less.
brilliant way of writing, though, eh? Like the
Yeah.
only,
Oh, yeah.
the only, like, because to make her pregnant is the perfect icing on the
Mhm.
cake to send Brad Pitt over the edge. And the
Mhm.
fact that he didn't know, and he's like, "Oh, you didn't know."
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, well, he's fucking dead now. There's no way that
And
he's
let-
not shooting him.
And let's talk about the way Brad sold that.
So
Like,
good,
that
right?
was amazing. That was one of the, like, Brad Pitt, you go back, he had a pretty boy reputation. You go back and you look at his filmography and you're like, oh, his reputation was really not based on a lot of his work. It was based on a very small amount of his work that he had done till then. As
Mhm.
I was talking to Mike in the pre-show, I mean, I went back and I think this is Brad Pitt's first really dark role, because 12 Monkeys was after that, and it's
No,
not. 'cause
he
did
did-
California.
Well,
right?
yeah, and then he did
And he
Interview
did-
before that too. Interview the Vampire, which is
but that wasn't as dark. That Interview with the Vampire
It's
does
pretty
kind of
dark.
lean into
Well, even Thelma and Louise,
pretty
he was
boy
a
thing.
shithead in the movie too, right?
it was
He
yeah.
He's not a nice man.
He was a fuck boy.
Yeah. So, but like, he got dark and he got gritty, and it wasn't. It's really not his first time. I mean, I can't recommend this enough. Go back and look at Brad Pitt's IMDb. It is longer than you think from before Thelma and Louise.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's-
he did that one weird Roger Rabbit knockoff, Cool World, and then a little bit. And
Oh
there
yeah, I
are
remember that.
bits and pieces here or there, but when you look at it, it's long. It's not a small resume. This boy worked his ass off, and
Well,
you
he
know,
was
he
very
pulled his abs
tactical
out.
with his jobs
Yeah.
because he's like, I do not want to be typecast as the pretty boy lead role pretty
Mhm.
boy thing. I want to develop my range. I want to be diversified in my acting roles, and he specifically searched out non.
He had to, because after Legends of
Yeah.
the Fall, an interview, he was like, "Okay,
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Pretty Man over here, he's got to
Yep.
break
Yeah.
the cycle. 12 Monkeys." I know there's a lot of Mills or 12 Monkeys. I can't remember his character's name in that movie. A lot of that in this, with the sort of spastic immaturity, especially in the beginning of the movie, where he's like that. He's that sort of that kid that's like, let me in, coach. I want to play. He was that sort of overeager kid that just in Somerset's like, dude, just go take some fucking statements somewhere else. Go away. Like you're annoying.
It's
Yeah.
funny.
Right.
I've watched Seven like probably easily almost close to 50 times in my lifetime.
Can I say one thing then?
Yes,
You're
go
weird.
ahead.
You're weird. That's for me. That's not a movie I'm going to watch every couple of months. Or a
Yeah, but
year.
as a story writer, when you're studying the story, I've like
Sure.
I watched
Yeah.
it like
Okay,
maybe
fair
4 or
enough.
5 times in like 1 week just to like
Yeah.
you
Oh,
know
sure.
as I was reading the script or whatever. But you know, we also Brad Pitt when I was in acting school also came up as a topic of conversation. And if you watch a lot of his early starring roles, he hasn't really found his body yet, and
Mhm.
so he's very like rigid in Seven. Like he almost
Mhm.
doesn't know what like as an actor, he doesn't really know what to do with a lot of his hands. And
Yeah.
he still doesn't. So that's why he usually like eats something or
He
holds
eats.
it.
Yeah.
He always has either food or a cup of coffee or something in every because it gives his body something to do. But now when
And
you
I
watch Brad Pitt in like today's movies, he's just feels so natural on screen. Like, you know, but back then he's like literally really rigid
Yeah.
in Seven.
Mhm.
So, but or
in
maybe it's an
Seven,
acting choice. I don't know.
there's a scene when they've gone to the library and they got the dot matrix printer going, and I had a good laugh at that.
That was so good.
Brad's sitting on a couch and he's popping potato chips in his mouth.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of his character from Ocean's 11, because if you go back and watch the Ocean's movies, every
He's
scene Brad
eating in
Pitt's
every
in,
scene.
he's eating. He's eating in every
Yeah.
scene, and it's amazing. While we're on the cast, the background actors it's quite an interesting little group. So the massage parlor guy, the porn house guy, the guy they have,
He looks familiar to me. I've seen him somewhere.
you've seen him because he's the guy that killed Brandon Lee. He was the actor in The Crow that was holding the gun.
Brandon Lee. Feel for that guy, man.
Yep. And he,
that
you
guy
know what?
quit
If you
acting
look at
after
his career,
that.
that affected him. That messed him right up.
Yeah, that's too bad. That's a shame.
Did anybody recognize the greasy FBI agent?
I did, but I can't remember who he was. I've seen him in 100 things.
Seen Sons of Anarchy?
That's what it was. Thank you. Yes,
He's
thank
got
you.
longer gray hair and a big gray beard.
Yes.
Talbot, one of the other cops that's in a few scenes, including right near their end where they're arguing over whether or not to drag John Doe out to the desert or just let him rot in the cell. That was Shaft, Richard Roundtree.
Okay.
That was the bad mother himself.
And the SWAT team guy, the bald guy.
There it is. Thank you.
John McGinley.
My next one.
Wasn't he on like Scrubs? Was he in Scrubs?
Yes.
Yes.
John C. McGinley. He's in a tons of stuff, most notably Scrubs.
Yeah, that's right. He was the asshole doctor.
That's right.
Yeah. It took me a few minutes. I'm like, I'm not looking this up. I'm gonna figure it out by the end of the movie. And I think I got it.
Yeah, I noticed him when they kicked down the door of Sloth's apartment, and I'm like, I know him. I'm pretty sure. And it took me a while to remember his name. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I was like, John C. McGinley, and I looked it up. I'm like, yeah,
I knew it. Damn it.
And he got a name, so he's got to be in more parts of the film. And yeah, he's the guy at the end in the helicopter with the sniper rifle.
Yeah. I didn't like his portrayal of
about the ending. Yes. The way everybody reacts to the shooting. There's only one thing I would change about the ending.
Just call somebody over the radio. I was like, holy crap.
That's the exact line I wrote down. Jesus Christ, somebody call somebody.
Yeah, just call anybody.
Just call somebody.
Yeah, that was such a great line.
And it was just out of pure exasperation. Mm-hmm. The only thing about that ending I would change is I think Brad Pitt should have shot him one more time.
Well, he shot him like 7 times, I think.
Shot him 6 times.
Did he shoot him 6? Oh, that
6 times. I went back and I rewound it. And he's like, "What are you looking at?" I'm like, I got to get it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Well, then the 7th bullet should have been for himself then.
No, I agree with him not killing himself. But I mean, I guess you can get guns that have 7 bullets in it.
Well, his Beretta had like 15. That's what a clip holds.
No, that's like 8 plus 1 in the shaft.
Is it? Okay, well, whatever.
Yeah, something like that. I'm no firearms expert, but I'm pretty sure.
I did like the Lethal Weapon reference when Morgan Freeman had the old 6-shooter like Murtaugh did.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of cool.
Can we just say that? I mean, I've watched a bunch of David Fincher movies. Most recently, Panic Room is the last one I watched, which was like last week. But
Jodie Foster, right?
Yeah, and fucking Kristen Stewart, which I didn't know until the credits came up, and just like, Kristen Stewart's in this movie. She's like, she's 12 years old in the movie. She's the girl. She's the daughter.
Okay,
that's locked in Panic Room. But anyways, I've watched I watched The Game, I watched Seven, I
The
watched Panic
Game.
Room.
That's my favorite thing.
He knows how to end a movie.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
he does.
Like his endings are A+ endings. He hits them out of the park. You're just left stunned at the ending of a lot of his movies. You're like, holy shit.
Yeah,
So-
the Game is one of my all-time favorite
Yes,
movies. I
so
haven't
good.
seen
So
it in
good.
a while.
Yeah,
Um,
it's so good.
And it's
And-
kind of underrated. It kind of got forgotten about. It
It
didn't
did.
do all that well when it came out. And it's Sean Penn and Michael Douglas. Just
Yeah, because the whole
Well-
time you're watching that, you're kind of like, it's The Game. Oh, I don't think it's The
Yeah.
Game. Oh, it's The Game.
Yeah,
No, I don't
yeah.
think this is The Game. No,
Well,
this is
yeah.
definitely a game. No, this is not a game.
is Sean Penn a part of this? I don't know.
You
I'm
keep
pretty
going back
sure
and
we all
forth.
went to the $2 theater and saw that.
Yes.
I remember that one of the group, and I had gone and seen it beforehand. He's like, "Guys, we got to go see this." Well, what's it about? It's about a game. I mean, yeah, but what
Can't
kind of a
say it.
game? Like, I can't say anything else. It's about a game.
It's so
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
It's at the $2 theaters. We're going on Tuesday. And I remember I was around him when I asked him, I did it to him, and I wasn't the first and I wasn't the last. And I was around him a couple of times. And he's just like, I can't tell you guys, get $2.
Go to the
call your
movie.
boy, roll up a couple. We're going to New West. We're going to the $2 theaters and we're going to watch a movie
It's
about a
good.
game.
Yeah.
And it blew my mind. I think I was going to say maybe we should cover Panic Room next on our Fincher Express,
Do the
but
game.
Well, we could. It's
game.
good.
now it's going to be the game. I don't know. We'll
the
have to
game
have a
next.
discussion offline.
Yeah.
we
So
really-
another
go ahead.
another
Yeah, go
another
ahead.
tidbit here, just so you know, and I think I've mentioned it before in a previous podcast, but the writer for Seven is also the writer for Fincher's newest movie, The Killer, with Michael Fassbender.
Oh, really?
That's coming out in November.
Ooh,
I think it's on Netflix, I believe, or it might go to theaters. I don't know. But yeah, it's out in like a month or something.
Oh, really?
So if it's
That's
on
exciting.
Netflix, we should all watch it and do that one in November. But yeah, so he also Andrew Kevin Walker also wrote Sleepy Hollow with Johnny Depp, I think.
Oh, the Tim
Yes,
Burton
yeah,
one?
Johnny Depp
Yeah, the Tim
and
Burton one?
Really?
Winona
Yeah.
Ryder.
Yeah,
Really
and
good.
then he also wrote his follow-up to Seven, which is not related to Seven, but he was trying to emulate another Seven with Nicolas Cage, the 8mm movie,
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
which was not very well received because it was about
No,
snuff
that-
movies.
That was bad.
And
That
yeah,
was-
it was like
favorite arc.
it was like a worse version of Seven, basically. So
God, you guys are gonna make me watch a fucking Cage movie, aren't you?
Yeah, we are.
no, because Fincher didn't direct. I don't think Fincher direct that. I don't think he did.
Well, in 2024, you guys, we're going to do the year of Nicolas Cage.
Yeah,
Every week we will do a Nicolas Cage movie.
100%.
Okay, so my time with the podcast is rapidly coming to an end. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can catch me somewhere else.
That's right. I'll be anywhere else.
yeah,
don't care where.
Fincher didn't direct 8mm. That was a different.
No,
Yeah,
no, that wasn't Fincher.
he probably read it and goes, "Yeah, it's not good enough."
Thank God.
Oh, he also did.
Or
I
he
forgot he
you
did.
got who starring in it? I'm out.
I also forgot he did The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Also a phenomenal movie with Daniel Craig. That book was amazing. By the way.
Yeah,
I think I'd rather read the books.
Dude, he
First.
he nails the yeah. He cuts a lot of the shit of the book out in the movie, which makes sense because like the first half of the book, nothing happens really,
Mhm.
and you're just like, Jesus Christ, I heard this was a good book, but like, what's going on?
Mhm.
And then it's only when he gets to the island, when he actually starts investigating, that everything starts to kind of fall into place, right?
Yeah.
So, but they do this like huge setup for 100 pages about him working at like a newspaper press or as a newspaper reporter, and it's like it's so unnecessarily long in the
Mhm.
book,
Mhm.
and Fincher just cuts all of that out.
Oh, nice. Because isn't there like a European version of those movies as well? Like
Also
done-
good, yes, yeah.
I've never seen those either.
I've seen both, and they're
Okay.
both really good. But the
Okay.
Swedish version is all in Swedish, right? So you have to
That's
read the
okay.
subtitles. but-
Subtitles are fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have seen the Swedish version. I've seen the Daniel Craig version. I don't know. There's ups and downs to both, but I'm sure we'll get there.
Yeah.
Speaking of Fincher, to go back to what I was looking at earlier with the main actors, do you guys know what his before and after films to Seven are?
Yeah, because I'm looking right at it. So
I
I won't
am not
answer
gonna
that.
I
He
do
did a
not.
lot of music videos as well, but it was Alien 3 right before this,
Oh,
and the
that
game
was right
right
before.
after.
Okay.
Well, it was
And
3 years before. Alien 3, I think, was 92, 7 was 95. And then
correct.
which one did you do after 7? Mike?
That was the game.
Yeah.
That was the game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He's got a very distinctive style, hey? Like
I liked
does.
Alien 3. That was my favorite Alien, actually.
And
it's different. It's different
It
than
is
any other Alien.
very
It's
different. Very
it-
different.
It's got very similar vibes to how he cuts his scenes together and how he does this thing where he'll like isolate on objects,
Mhm.
like little objects that
I love stuff like that.
Yeah, but it seems like it doesn't mean anything, but it means a lot.
Oh, everything
Right?
everything he shows
Yeah.
it means something, right? There's a
Yeah.
definite, for sure.
He's got an interesting way of like cutting his films together, and a lot of it is like very sharp. Well, specifically in 7, it's a lot of like sharp cuts
Mhm.
to things.
That's a
so-
very 90s thing to do too, right?
Yeah.
It was even with the end credits when they're scrolling backwards, like
yes,
top down. I was watching all of a sudden, I'm like, hell, I'm like, oh, I gotta read up. I'm like, this is weird. It was really weird. So I was
That
trying to
actually-
see who was all in the movie and stuff.
yeah,
it
that
was
Izzy got that
weird.
right away. She looked at it, she's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
What is this? What no, what is this?
It's
And
the
I'm like,
mid 90s,
man,
baby.
It's Fincher. This is what's going on.
Right?
But I mean, Fincher's style of dark and gritty and everything he does really leaned in well with Alien 3. It
Mhm.
was a different take on the whole thing. Now, sure, a lot of people were upset with the way, some main characters didn't make it from between, they kind of died off screen more or less. But I think it worked. I think Aliens, we're gonna be getting into more Fincher, so
we'll
wanna
talk
be-
Alien 3 another time. It's,
yeah, I don't want to we'll sit down, we'll discuss this, and maybe we'll try a poll. Maybe we'll throw a
Poll.
poll out there
See
and see what
which
people want
Fincher
and
movie we
see
should do
if we
next.
have
Yeah.
enough fans to sort this out. So we're getting close to an hour here. Let's talk about the sins. I mean, we've talked
Yeah.
about wrath, we've talked about envy. So let's take those two off the table before Seb and I just drive to each other's houses and start a fist fight.
yes.
I don't think it's debatable. I think Sloth is by far the creepiest one. Like,
Lust was pretty nasty.
yeah.
You never see the after, like the actual lust
No,
thing.
thank
but
God.
what is it? Yeah, you can't.
You got
show
a good
that.
idea what's
But-
going on just by the quick shot of the
But
person
Jesus
in the bed.
Jesus
Oh, God.
Christ, is and
Yeah.
that guy,
Yeah.
that
And then they
that
showed the
actor
thing with
should
the
have
knife,
got an
and you're like,
award for the way he was like when they were asking
Was
him, he was like
that not-
hyperventilating. Oh,
That might have
like-
been the best performance in the movie.
Yeah.
And
So
that's
that guy
not
was awesome.
belittling anybody else.
get this thing
that
off of me! Get this thing off of me!
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like in the
Yeah.
room just shaking. Like, how do
Yeah.
you?
What a
God.
performance, man!
And for those that are not aware, it is a fairly nasty looking knife that has been added to a strap on dildo.
Yeah,
And the victim was a prostitute, and this gentleman was a frequenter of they call it a massage parlor in the credits because that's where Michael Massey, who we talked about earlier, is
Yeah.
sort of like the manager of. So you cut between him and I guess I'm going to call him one of the victims because he really is. But the guy that was
Well, I thought when Brad Pitt asked him, "Do you like your job?" and he just kind of leaned in and eyes got real serious. He's like, "No, but that's the way life goes." It's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, he sold it
But-
so well.
yes, he did.
that's an echo for a lot of the characters in that world. Is like, I don't like
Yeah.
what I'm doing, but I have to do it.
Gotta
Well,
make
I
ends
mean,
meet,
Or
man.
I don't
That's
have a
life.
choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can think of a bunch of other things I would rather be doing than my day job. I
Well,
mean,
the
don't
majority
get
of
me
people
wrong,
are not
I'm
happy with their
bitter.
jobs.
I've had
Yeah.
I've had jobs where I'm much more bitter. I mean, I got good people. I got a good buddy I work with. I'm safe, especially given what I deal with. But if I had my druthers, absolutely, I'd be doing something else.
I think we could all say we'd rather be doing something else.
And on
Thanks.
that note, if you'd like to sponsor the show, drop us a line at theinpod@gmail.com or get to one of us on the Facebook. Well, get to me or Seb on Facebook or like the show page and
Yeah.
get to us through there.
Yeah. I'm a bit of a ghost.
So
We will read ads too. We're not shy. We will read ads. I'm not even going to vet them at this point. I'll just read them.
we will read them. Yeah. So Sloth is technically the first one that is implemented, but it's found as the second one because he
Correct.
starts on Sloth
No,
a year
The
prior.
third. It's the third.
Or maybe it's the third. Yeah. Did they do
Yeah,
greed
sloth is
before
the third
that?
one they find.
Greed, yeah, it's so it goes gluttony, greed, sloth,
Okay.
and then lust and pride are kind of sandwiched. They're almost
Yeah.
within 10 minutes of each other, and they don't really
I
get
think
into it.
Pride comes first, though. I think that doesn't matter. It's they're
Yeah.
around the same time. Yeah, but yeah. So
Now, Pride is the last one before they catch
Yes.
Kev, before John Doe he's turned himself in.
Yeah, according to the way I
Okay.
wrote my notes. Yeah.
yeah. Just that
So-
I don't know that.
Yeah, so sloth you were talking about, and
That
like
is-
excellent makeup work as well. So
Yeah.
let's give
Oh, sure.
credit to the practical effects crew because they didn't have digital effects back there for them. That was gross.
Yeah, it was uncomfortable, right? It was just like, okay, do I like? I'm all for horror and shit and seeing all that nasty,
Mhm.
but it's like, oh man, this is no.
Yep.
Yeah, and just getting back to that jump scare is just like they literally made it look like a corpse. It's like there's no
Mhm.
you don't even like you have no idea. I was 100% sure he was dead.
No, because
Yeah.
he was when they before they took the sheet off of him, I was watching because I couldn't remember if it was SpaghettiOs guy or it was this one was the jump scare. I totally forgotten. So I was expecting Gluttony
the two.
to move, but he
Yeah.
didn't. And then, but before they pulled the blanket off, you could see the sheet. He's barely breathing. It's
That's
hard
such
to
a
see.
subtle thing to put in too.
Oh
like
man,
Fincher's a
It just
genius,
was-
man. Just to put that in, because if you catch it, you're like, whoa.
Yeah, because I mean, nobody in
Yeah.
the room acknowledged the fact that that was a thing. Now, granted, I mean, if these they send in the SWAT team, so they're already jacked up on adrenaline. They're coming through there. They don't know what to expect. They're in full testosterone adrenaline mode, so they might not have stopped to look at.
Oh, they
the sheet.
clearly didn't know.
just-
And even
just
because they
ripped
looked
it
at all
right
the
off.
air fresheners.
Well, there's
on the
too much to
ceiling, and
look
they're
at.
Like,
Oh,
what the
yeah.
hell? Like they're just like, what is this?
There's
And
so
then-
much to look at. There's the books. There's
Yeah.
the altar. Like there's so many
Oh, yeah.
things to look at in this room. You're just
The
trying to take
air
it all in.
fresheners, though, what
Yeah.
a detail! Because it's
Yeah.
hundreds of them.
Hundreds of them.
Hundreds
They're all
of
the
them
old school pine ones.
My wife does the same thing with little clear plastic snowflakes every Christmas, and then we have a little like kaleidoscope white light that shines through there, and it's a very winter wonderland-y thing. But that's what I thought of when I saw it. I'm like, oh yeah, Christmas is coming. I got to decorate the ceiling again. And I'm like, but it was a great little detail because that room's going to stink.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And he was the best tenant the guy ever had. He paid his rent on time.
That's right. Wallet envelope full of cash. Nobody complained about him, and he complained about nobody. He's like, oof.
Right.
You're going to complain when you have to get
Well,
the
he
smell out of
complained
the
about a
wall.
lot of people by the books that he was writing. So he lived like his view on the world.
Well,
John
we're
Doe's
talking-
view on the
I think
world
we're
was.
talking about two different apartments, Seb.
You're talking two different apartments.
We're talking.
Oh,
you're
that's
talking
right.
John
Yeah,
Doe.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, you're right. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's cool. I mean, but I mean, they look very similar. They're because there's no light in anything, right?
No.
It's just the way
Well,
it
It's
is.
very
Yeah.
grayscale, actually,
All
right?
The doors
And
were
then
painted black, and it was
yeah.
just it was
Yep.
wild.
yeah, but when you do see his cross, like that illuminated outline of the
Yeah,
cross,
above
like
the-
it's
above the
such a
shitty bed.
visual punch
Yeah.
on screen,
Yeah.
right? So
You can't not stare at it either way.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
showing. It's like shit. It's just
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of what Frank Miller does with Sin City or
Mm.
what Steven Spielberg did with Schindler's List, where it's a very drab movie,
But
and
there's,
then
like,
there's
a-
all of a sudden
yeah.
one big.
there's no
thing
color
of
until you see that cross. Really, like there's
Yeah.
not a lot of color
Really
in the
isn't.
movie.
Yeah, it's all browns and grays
That-
and
like
blacks.
that
and,
noir, yeah, those sort of just
Yeah.
everything's just sort of muted,
Mhm.
and then that red just punches you right in the face.
I also read that Hollywood wanted to do a softer ending, so instead of putting her head in the box, it was supposed to be one of the dogs or both of the dogs' heads in the boxes.
Oh,
Which was something that they were talking about because I read a whole bunch of different alternate
Oh, really?
planned endings, but
Yeah.
you can't. You have to do the wife.
okay. So, well, yeah, you do, but you know
Yeah.
what? I thought it was worse than what it was. I remember sitting there in the theater, and this was one of the
Thinking it was-
grosser.
Yeah.
What's that?
You were probably thinking it was not the wife, but what she
Oh.
was carrying.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
exactly what I thought. Because I remember sitting there. I remember Chris was sitting right next to me. I'm just sitting there going, "Oh God, no! Don't do that! Don't! Please don't be that!" And I'm just like, nope, can't do it. Because the entire theater, I remember we all went, fuck. Everybody in the theater jumped for the sloth jump scare. And we've seen some shit at this point. We saw, I mean, it starts with a crime scene of a husband and wife being murdered. And then it goes in, and that wasn't too terrible, but the sloth and the gluttony were gross. Those were disgusting. The greed, where he had to get Shakespearean and cut a pound of flesh off himself.
Yep.
You don't see a lot there, but even when they go through John Doe's apartment, the little cabinets.
Each one had a cabinet, right?
There was each one had a cabinet. There was the SpaghettiOs or the pasta sauce in one. There were the drugs in another. There was the missing hand from the sloth was in another. And then there was a photo over the fourth, which was going to be Pride. And I don't remember what was in that because there was a little note taped to it. We'd seen some gross shit, and I thought I was worried they were gonna show it, was my thing. And I'm actually surprised they didn't show the head, given the rest of the movie. But I thought it was
better that they did. It's better that they didn't. Because you don't really need to see some. You don't need a visual of that. Like visuals for all the other stuff makes total sense. But okay, when he jumps back,
it might have been just too much.
I think it would have looked bad. I don't think it would have looked. I don't think they. I don't know. I think it would look dumb, especially at that time with. I think it adds more effect to Morgan Freeman's reaction, and makes you keep wondering, holy shit, her head's actually in that box. And it didn't need to be seen.
Do you see the head in the box, or do you not see the head in the box?
You don't.
No, it's a Mandela effect thing, because a lot of people think that there's a flash of her head in the box, but it's never shown.
There's no flash. It just opens, and there's a little strip of blood on the inside in one of the flaps of the box, and he's like, oh shit, and then he opens it and jumps back, and then the flaps kind of close again, and they kind of just flap in the wind.
It's one of those Mandela effects, because you ask somebody what's in the box, and if you see the head in the box, and a lot of people will say, if they haven't seen the movie for a while, they'll say, oh yeah, her head's in the box, you see it, but you never actually see it.
No, you never do. I would never have. I would argue anybody that ever told me that. I've never once thought.
Is it a stronger choice not to show her head in the box?
Yes,
I think Mike's correct.
I don't think you need to see it at all.
I don't. I think they front loaded us already, and it might have been crossing that fine line. Like, we've seen enough.
Well, it's enough, right? Lady cut off her nose, a spider face, and then the lost one, and then all the other ones. It's like, okay, I'm good for the quick flashes of violence. It's not like you're watching the Terrifier 2 or something, and it's just like in your face.
Terrifier.
Yeah,
I
think it probably would have detracted from the movie to see the head.
Is that the one where there's the one in is it in Terrifier 2? I've never seen them, but I just heard there's a bedroom scene with salt.
I don't
where
know.
he
I saw the beginning of Terrifier 1 and it was just some disgusting.
Art the clown.
Yeah, the clown's creepy enough. He's scary shit.
Check out Chris Jericho's podcast. He's covered both of them. Don't let me know how it turns out, because I
will not be watching the Terrifier.
So
I think they front loaded a lot of the gore. I mean, some of the
biggest thing is that extreme gore, right? That was as far as he'll go in any of his movies for violence, right? Not even Alien 3 was close to being as violent as this. Not even close.
He put the gore specifically in for shock value to give you weight of the sins, and it makes sense where he sprinkles it into the movie. It makes sense for the movie. I think he did a masterful job of giving you enough and giving you what you need to feel the horror of what's going on for each of the sins and the whole. So
I mean, especially with gluttony, when it's he's been sitting in his own shit and piss for 3 days. So, and then Mills looks under the table. He goes, "There's a bucket," and he looks in the bucket and then yaks because it's full of vomit.
Can we just talk about the autopsy guy that is completely unfazed by this? He just comes
Both
right in
sides
and just like,
come-
hey
yeah,
guys, what's up?
Yeah, coroners have seen a lot.
Or the corner,
You
yes.
show me a
Yeah.
coroner that's phased by something, and you
Yeah.
better have some messed up death on his hands, because
But
coroners see a lot, and
that's-
they got to
that's-
be super desensitized.
that's going back to, I can't remember if it was you, Matt, or you, Mike, that made the point about like a lot of the background actors. It's like they're playing truthful to like their one little role. Like
Mhm.
it's very
Yeah.
indicative of how a coroner would actually be, because they see dozens of dead bodies maybe on a weekly basis, right? So they're so
In a large city,
desensitized.
absolutely.
Yes, and especially this city when
And
it's
when
all
they
homicide
see funky
crimes.
shit, it gets them not excited is the wrong word, but it gets their juices, their
Mystery juices going.
mystery
basically.
juices flowing.
Yeah.
Like he's talking about how his stomach was on the verge of bursting, and then and
Yeah.
he got kicked, and his stomach burst, and all this. Oh, it's like, oh my god! And hey, look how big his stomach is in this bag of
Yeah,
bag of goo. You're like, oh my god!
It has to be desensitizing.
Yeah.
Sure.
I heard a story, and I won't recount it here, but something about a famous horror director who got his start in Hollywood. He was talking about the 30 days he worked in an editing bay editing porn. He's like, some of these guys have been here for years and nothing phases them until somebody goes, oh shit, and then everybody comes running. And that to me sums up this coroner. He's like, dude, check this shit out.
Yeah.
Nobody that's
Yeah.
not
That's out of the
seeing that stuff
norm.
on a regular
Yeah.
basis, he'd be like, oh cool, this is new.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Probably gets gunshot victims all day long, and now he's got some
Right?
overweight guy that ate himself to
You
death, basically.
Yeah, that can't be a normal thing that a coroner sees,
No,
though.
not an everyday thing, right?
And can we just be really thankful for one advancement that film has not really made yet? Thank God they cannot give us the smell of the rooms they are in.
Oh yeah,
You
that's
imagine
coming.
if
Though.
that
That's
came
probably
through and you
that's
could
probably
smell that?
coming soon.
Ugh,
I-
smell-o-vision.
I'll be out. I'm like, nope,
Oh yeah, because
No,
your house will
not doing it. Right?
No,
Yeah. No thanks.
Just yeah,
Ugh.
not I. It's gonna cut down my film watching real quick, because you see some of this stuff. Do you want to smell Shawshank's ending? Nope.
I mean they can
I
do
don't
it
want to
in
smell
ways.
at least 4 rooms that this movie was in.
Yep.
They can do it in ways that are not offensive, right? Like you could smell like meadows or beach, or you can
Yes.
smell like oil,
Sure.
like if you're in the city, basically in like a
Mhm.
parking garage or like an automotive garage, like. But yeah, just doing putrid smells, that would turn me right off.
Yeah, it would cut
Yeah.
down the movie watching experience drastically.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that not a lot of movies really pay attention to. So it's like you just walked in that room, and that's what I really liked about Sloth is they walked in there and all the air fresheners are dangling there. These guys would be like, this fucking reeks. Or
Yeah.
that apartment manager would have gone, there's something wrong in there. But they had the air fresheners to mask that.
Yeah.
They're car air fresheners, so I mean they're only
but-
good for about 15 minutes straight out the bag like that.
Yeah, but there was
at
like
the same
15,000 of them.
Yeah.
time, at the same time, there's enough
I
in
counted.
there
No.
that it gives plausibility. I
Yeah.
mean, they would had to have a 50-gallon drum of Glade air fresheners in there. plugged
Plus, he
into that
kept him
washing
medicated
machine.
enough. He kept him medicated enough where like his wounds wouldn't really fester into like infectious
Well,
bacteria.
that makes it even. That's like even more twisted, right? He
Because
ate his
he's
own
keeping
tongue
him
and all this
alive,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. He's keeping him. He's purposely healing him while he's butchering him at the same time. It's just,
Yeah.
just
Then I hope he's giving him sponge baths too, because
Oh, yeah.
I mean, going back to that one kid I worked with, he wouldn't shower. So after about 5
God.
days, you could smell him. And
Mhm.
by about day 10, I'm not kidding.
Good.
Day
Really?
10,
Oh, good God.
you could smell him 30 feet away. If you were
Really?
looking for him, you could tell where he was 2 minutes beforehand.
Ugh,
It was gross.
brutal, man.
Yeah.
No, so this guy's not getting up and showering. So that room had to have stunk.
Oh yeah.
Like
Wow.
nothing in there like screams cleanliness
No,
at all.
that's gnarly.
And God knows what the fat guy smelled like, because he was a shut-in. So I mean,
It's a lot
I'm
of
sorry.
SpaghettiOs, man.
And I apologize to some people that may be on my annual cruise that might be listening to this, but some of y'all need to figure out a way to get a sponge bath in there, because cruise ship showers and bathroom doors are small, and some of y'all need to figure that out, because by
That's
day
why you just go
two,
jump in the pool
in the
once
mi-
a day.
oh, it happens, and I won't. I don't get in the pool after day 2.
Hey, why is the
It's
pool
not
a different color? What's going on?
I
Just
just
be the first one in it in the morning, and you're
Yeah,
fine.
pretty much. You'll know it's clean then.
Yeah,
do,
it's-
do it
yeah,
before
it's-
breakfast. Get in the pool, get out, then go to breakfast while everyone's eating, and then don't go back.
yarf.
I'm not so
Yeah.
much concerned about the pool as the hot tub. When there's like
Oh,
17 people in a
honest-
hot tub
oh.
built for 12, you're like,
Yeah,
oh
no
my
thanks.
god.
Yeah, no, I've seen it where there's enough people in there. There's like a cup of water, and that's about it.
Yeah,
Anyways,
it gets out.
beyond
There's like this much water.
7 part 2,
Yeah.
The Cruise.
Yeah,
I can't remember the name of the second Speed movie, but that's where I was going with that.
Cruise control.
It's
Thank
cruise
you.
control, yeah.
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 That's
7-2,
the yacht,
cruise
isn't
control.
it? Or the cruise ship, yeah.
Yeah.
So 7 at the end of the day will definitely go in my top 5 thrillers of all time. I will 100% put it in there. It's up there with like Silence of the Lambs. Why can't I think of another thriller I would put in there? But it's one of the best I've ever seen.
Well, I mean,
Did
it's
you
really
guys
easy
agree?
to put it in your top 10 when you only know 2.
I know. I'm
So
sure
I mean, honestly, I think Seb just gave us his top 2 thrillers.
Yeah.
there you go.
So I mean, that's pretty high praise.
You know what? I
Um,
also really liked Red
game
Dragon
I would
too. Which some
classify
people
as a
didn't.
thriller.
Red
as
Dragon
well.
was good. Man.
So good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Underrated.
Yeah,
Underrated.
absolutely. I think
Underappreciated.
Red Dragon sort of suffered from the same thing Jackie Brown did. Is it came hot on the
It's the
heels
next
of
one.
something so
Yeah.
extraordinary, being
There was
Pulp
no choice
Fiction
but to have a
and
letdown, right?
Silence of the Lambs, that there's only so much you could do. I mean, it's like watching a fight card. If the match before the main event is a classic all-time match,
Mhm.
the main event can't live up to it. So it's like, well, the main event sucked. I'm like, well, you just saw a match we're going to be talking about for 50 years.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear the stories in pro wrestling all the time. Almost made it through there without saying it. But it's like,
Man,
I
we
didn't
went
want to
I
go
went
on
so
so
long
early. So
without
I came
talking
out,
about
I
it,
stole
dude.
the show, walk backstage, follow that, and walk off.
Sometimes
right?
you just gotta spit out the bone.
Yeah. Oh, wow. There it is.
Oh, good God.
That's what she said.
Actually, yeah. Go ahead.
Does this hold up for you guys?
Yes,
Yes.
it's a classic.
Like,
It'll be something that you watch for the rest of your life. Kids
Mhm.
will watch it.
No, I
Yeah.
probably won't not watch it for the rest of my I probably won't I don't know if I'll ever watch it again. It's
Yeah, but if you ever do, it'll still hold up.
absolutely.
still
Like,
be
it's
an
not
amazing movie.
Like it doesn't have like a lot of those tropes from the 80s where it's like, oh, okay, this doesn't fly anymore. I can't get around this. It's
No cheesy
that's-
dialogue.
no there's no
Dialogue
cheesy
is
dialogue.
very good in it. It's
Mhm.
very good. It's very specific too. Like
It's purposeful.
every nuance of every word they say has a purpose to it. There's no
Yes.
like throwaway
Mhm.
dialogue.
No.
Yeah.
One
it's-
thing that tends to hurt older movies with especially with a younger crowd that don't remember the last century, is the lack of cell phones or the ease of communication, the lack of internet. There's a dot matrix printer in this movie. Right?
Well, there is
They
no
had-
cell phones. They have a
That's right.
phone
It's
by their bed.
1995. They're
Yeah.
in their infancy. They're the shape of
Well,
a
and even the
brick.
guy looking at fingerprints. Hey, one's done. Button. Done.
Yeah.
Button. No match. Button.
And it was real too. This might
But
take
it-
me a couple days.
Yeah.
So they
So
sleep outside
doesn't
for
hurt.
how long?
Fuck
right?
off. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt the cause, though. You know what I mean?
No.
Like
Oh.
that glaring omission doesn't hurt the cause.
Did
Izzy enjoyed
Izzy
it.
pick up
She's
on that stuff
15.
when you were watching with
did.
Izzy? Yeah.
Yeah,
Did
she did.
Did
She
it
picked
did
up
it
on
bother
it.
her that
but
there was none of the technology in it?
It
Okay.
She's watching a retro piece.
she was yeah. I'm
Yeah,
watching
it's old.
a period piece.
Yeah. It's like Victorian age for us, right? It's
Right, but
Something
it's
like that.
like you see a lot of movies, or like the Seinfeld TV show. 90% of the Seinfeld episodes would be solved if they all had cell phones. They'd be like
Yeah.
10 seconds long, right?
Yeah.
The lack of modern technology we're all familiar with, that some people don't know how life was before that. Wow, did I just sound like I came from the horse and carriage era? It doesn't hurt it. Like, it's like, well, why doesn't he just do this? It's like you're too engrossed in everything else going on. You don't realize that that's an old school printer he's ripping the thing off of. You don't,
There,
it doesn't it doesn't hit in a way where it's a glaring red flag of I'm an old movie. I am pre-technology.
Yeah, there's a couple of writing podcasts I listen to, and one of the repeated challenges that they talk about constantly is how do you eliminate the cell phone from your story? Because in today's age, your cell phone can get your heroes out of so much trouble. It's like people specifically look for a way of removing the cell phone from the equation of the story. I guess now a good way of doing it is doing a period piece, setting it before cell phones, or just finding a way to get rid of cell phones. Because why don't you just Google it? Why don't you just Google it? Why don't you just Google it? Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like your cell phone is such a computer of knowledge that you can't get technically lost because you have a cell phone. You can get yourself out of anything. Just Google it, right? So there's so many story ideas which are just kibosh by having a cell phone. So how do you get rid of the cell phone?
You have to,
Yeah.
you got to, now in some movies it's easier than others. If you're in an action piece, then it's like it got broken because I got in this car chase.
Yeah.
I fell down this. It's the only thing that stopped the bullet from going into my body. It's harder in others. Absolutely. So I think the only way to do it is to just lean into it. It's like, yeah, we got a cell phone. So it's like, no, it's here. And you got to work your way around that.
Yeah.
It's
You can do
probably
it that way.
easier to figure out a way the story works with a cell phone than it is to try and eliminate it in a lot of places, right? Like action, like I said, action movies are easy.
Yeah.
Real easy. Because it's just it got shot, it got knifed, it got broken somehow. Yeah, so this is one of these ones I was really glad to be able to watch it with Izzy. So some friends of mine came up with a concept that we just write down a bunch of movies that we all think we should all see. We put them all in a hat, and then on movie night we pull one out and we watch one that somebody there hasn't seen yet. My wife hasn't seen this one. I'll lose her in the first 10 minutes, but I think this could go into the hat.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Does she like thrillers like this? Like, would she enjoy it? Yeah.
Nope.
I think so.
It'll be 2 seconds into the gluttony house. She will be out the door.
Yeah.
She will be done. And then if she made it past that, she'd be so mad by the time the sloth thing came around. I might as well just move in.
It's
with
even
Seth.
another old worldy thing when Brad Pitt was looking at the pictures in John Doe's house and the batteries kept falling away from the light bulb and then his flashlight would turn off and he had to shake it and then he had to tip it up so he could. We don't have that shit. Everything's LED now and it's all self-contained. Nothing moves. It's just
you just use your
flashlight on your camera, right? It's
which is
crazy.
better than
it's just.
Okay, so there was one thing I noticed that I had never noticed before, and this is going back to right before John Doe turns himself in. As they're coming into the police station, one of the desk cops goes, "Mills, your wife called," and he kind of brushes it off. It's like, okay, I'll call her back.
And she said, like, I'm not your answering machine and shit, and gave him the note. He didn't even look at it.
Yeah,
it was probably a cry for help. Really?
Yeah, absolutely,
right?
Or it was. Right. That was one of those little details that I caught today. I don't remember if I had seen it the 3 or 4 other times I've watched this movie, but it was one of those things where I'm like, oh, that's going to weigh on him so bad. Like, if you told me that the character Brad plays in 12 Monkeys was a direct result of him being David Mills and a continuation of
12 months
shared world.
I would have
gone something.
Yep.
And then he turns into the pikey and Snatch.
House. Yeah, that would absolutely land you in the fucking nut house. Yeah. All right, boys, this was fun. I think. Any final thoughts there, Mike? Seb and I have kind of run over you a couple times here.
No.
Yeah, I apologize for that.
I'm used to it by now. It's 47 episodes of getting run over. I'm kind of.
We get excited about things, Mike.
It's just fine. And then when I get excited, you just cut me down. It's totally fine.
He does.
No, it was. Yeah, exactly right. I was waiting for you to cut me off. It was. No, I think it was more like both of you.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed watching it in a sadistic way because I haven't watched a movie like that in a while. It was nice to see it again. Like I said, I won't watch it. I'll probably wait another 30 years to watch it again, maybe. Of course, I'll be, oh God, oh man, I'll be real old.
Don't math.
No,
No
don't, no,
mathing.
forget, don't
No
even
mathing.
talk about that. But man, David Fincher, he's the man. You know, Brad Pitt's the man. He was just turning into the man, right? It was awesome. And,
Mike, you moved back just out of frame enough, saying that your camera went all fuzzy, and I'm like,
I know,
that's
right?
so Fincher-esque right there.
Right there, you go. I'm trying.
So it's not something you'd sort of sit down with young Cooper there and go, boy, I'm going to show you a good movie.
I don't think so.
Not yet. Like I know you said Izzy's 15, Cooper's 14.
Yeah,
but he doesn't.
they're different kids.
He doesn't
The
watch.
little I've seen of Cooper, they're different kids.
Right,
Man, that's young for a 15-year-old to watch, though. I mean, Izzy's probably
Well, having lived with Matt, I don't think that's too young. I think that.
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I do stink, so
because you are the guy you were talking about that smells real bad. You just didn't want to say it was you. Anyways, no, I've raised my sheltered is the wrong word. Wrong words. We just don't.
Yeah,
I don't subject it to the shit that I really watched and that I watched when I was young.
Yeah.
Just because he's seen Die Hard. That's probably as like violent. That's about the most violent movie he's probably ever seen. Or watching Call of Duty fucking cinematics in the game. But that's as good as it gets, right? There's no like demonic twisty shit that all the crazy Evil Deads and the movies that we love.
Oh, just wait till you watch Evil Dead with the boy.
Oh my God. He'll probably, you know what? I can see it. He'll say, this is the stupidest movie I've ever seen.
Probably. Yes.
Yes.
Then you can go, just wait till you see the giant rip in the costume they couldn't afford to edit out.
Because then you point out all the stupid shit and then he'll probably get on board with it. He's like, why is there blood coming out of a hose? Because it's supposed to.
If he doesn't laugh his ass off at the hand fight.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But no, I loved it, and I can't wait to dig deeper into Fincher's filmography because, like we talked about earlier, the game. If we're doing that next, great. If it's Panic Room, whatever. I've never seen Panic Room, so I'm excited to dip back in next time.
Yeah, we'll have to sit down and really figure out a good list there because if you look at his IMDb, his directorial credits between films is a lot of music videos.
Oh yeah, didn't he do like Madonna videos and stuff?
Yes, Madonna, Aerosmith. The Wallflowers, like there's I didn't know, or if I did, I had forgotten.
I think you might have forgotten because I think we all knew he was like a music video guy back in the day, but I think it just sort of you just forget over time.
And as far as the kids living with me, there was a point a few years ago. Of
course, I'm just joking. Of course, I mean nothing, no harm to it.
No, that's fine. But there was a point a few years ago where I got so tired of saying that's not appropriate for you. That's not appropriate. I said, you know what? I remember when I first got access to the video card. I'd be hitting Phase One Video in the North Delta shopping center there.
Yeah.
When it was across the street from the Delta Lion. And I had access. I could walk up to the counter with anything on those shelves as long as I wasn't in the little dark room in the back.
Yeah.
And I could walk out with whatever I wanted.
And it
was softcore HBO stuff, vulgar comedy, whatever I wanted. So I gave up. I'm like, you know what? Yeah. You guys are into this stuff. You're going to do it when I'm not looking anyways.
Yeah, fair enough.
You guys are all fucking annoying because you figured out how to crack all the codes we put on the I gave up and I'm like whatever. And I think it was around the time that we were doing Christmas and my wife sent Bad Moms Christmas, let's watch this. And that was probably when we just gave up because we're like, I'm staring at my wife going, cool, so we're watching Catherine Hahn wax a dude's butthole with the kids.
Awkward.
You know what, guys? I just
So
watch at your own risk.
I wanted to share this because I just remembered it. So I wanted to look up specifically the context of it. But did you know that they were talking about making a sequel to the movie Seven?
I wouldn't have been surprised to hear how much money it made.
So I Googled a bunch of things. In early 2002, New Line Cinema bought a screenplay by Ted Griffin called Solace about a psychic doctor on the trail of a psychic serial killer. With an eye on the massive critically commercial success of Seven, they decided to retrofit the script to make it a sequel. It was tentatively titled 8.
Yeah.
But Fincher was a hard no.
Oh,
He was
yeah.
like,
Thank you,
"No,
David Fincher."
we are not like you can't. How do you make a
No,
sequel
don't.
on
Don't.
such a
Mills will be
specific?
in some nut house
Don't.
somewhere, and then
It
Somerset will
doesn't make
come
sense.
visit him in
It's
his
about
wheelchair.
the 7 deadly sins. You can't make a
Mhm.
sequel about it, right? Like
Well,
you
the
can't.
thing is, you do the same thing they did with, and I can't remember for the life of me the first one right now. Along Came a Spider. It was a sequel to Double Jeopardy or something. I don't remember
No,
what it was.
Something with a kiss, wasn't it?
Kiss the Girls.
Yes, there you go. Thank you.
Yeah. So Along Came a Spider was a sequel, or Kiss the Girls was a sequel to Along Came a Spider. I don't remember how that worked, but it wasn't. We're going after the same kind of serial killer. It was this detective's next case. Ironically, both detectives would have been Morgan Freeman.
I was going to say Morgan Freeman was in Kiss the Girls. It just came back to me. Yeah.
Yeah. And then so it was, this is just the next case for this detective. And
cool.
this is what he's going to go. So you could conceivably do that. I wouldn't touch it. I would let us believe that Somerset is out there
Yeah, you can't
doing
you
whatever.
can't do a
Well, and
sequel.
the sad thing is that the captain, which was the dude from Full Metal Jacket,
Yes.
and the guy, the soldier from Toy Story, but that's
Yep.
When he said, Somerset, where are you going to be? He's like, I'll be around. And the whole movie, he's trying to say, I'm out of here. I hate this place. I don't understand this town anymore. And he's got pulled back in and he can't get out.
Yeah. It's
And
almost like he's broken.
Yeah, what?
It's almost like he's broken. Like this is, to what Seb was saying, where he had a realization that this is where he's stuck. Like I was saying, where he's like, they're pulling me back in. It's just like, fuck it, whatever. Just fuck, whatever.
It's the metronome, right? That was the balance. And then he's like, fuck, it's over. It's done.
Yeah.
I'm screwed.
Well, so the last line in the movie is one of the greatest last lines ever to close off a movie. When Somerset narrates, he says, Ernest Hemingway once wrote, "The world is a fine place and worth fighting for." And then I think he says, "I agree with the second part."
Yeah.
And then the movie ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was going to write that down that I didn't, and then I forgot all about it.
Yeah, it's so iconic, man.
Yeah, I was gonna go back and write it down, but you know what? I'm gonna take the helicopter line is the last quote I'm jotting down. So 90 minutes almost, boys. I mean, I think we could probably go on for another 2 hours. I think I can get Seb wound up enough.
There's been no irritating.
I think
really.
we talked about doing a Fincher thing, and we were looking at like a ranking thing or whatnot. I think this is the way to go. I think we just sort of hammer through every once in a while. We'll get a list of films. Maybe we'll throw
figure out the next one soon.
So if you're watching us tonight, thank you for joining us. If you are listening to us on demand, keep an eye out on the Facebook page and perhaps our Spotify link, where we will get a poll up and see what Fincher movie we're doing next, or we won't. We'll just decide amongst ourselves because, I mean, it's our sandbox. But we want some crowd interaction. And so join us when we do these. Join us most Saturday mornings at 9:00 when we are live. You can keep an eye on our Facebook page for that. Remember, do the like, follow, share, subscribe, that whole deal. YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And that's all I got.
And it is worth fighting for.
It is worth fighting for. I like it.
What's in the box?
What's in the box?
All right. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us.
Night.
See ya.